Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the San Jose Youth Commission.
For your presentation. On December 11th, I attended the joint meeting that the city and county had. I think it was the Latino Health Assessment, Children Youth Services Master Plan, and a committee that was specific to Santa Clara County was, in attendance to that. And I think one takeaway I had was both committees urged the plan to expand to like newer neighborhoods so that more people could have access to services provided by the Children Youth Services Master Plan. So I was just wondering how you're planning to go about that, especially for the next couple of years and the next steps for the plan when it comes to, I guess, outreach in more neighborhoods.
Good question. So first, I just want to make sure that I clarify one thing. The Children Youth Services Master Plan is a framework.
Mhm.
It's not a program. We don't provide resources or services. What we do try to do is we're the backbone support for our demonstration sites.
Mhm.
And so what we're trying to do is to ensure that the partners that are already in communities that have built that trust with that community, we want to make sure that all of our services are in alignment with what they're trying to do so that they can be successful. As we look to for expansion, the first thing we need to look at is whether we have enough internal resources to actually support that those efforts. Currently, it's a staff of one,
Yeah.
plus any additional support that I can get from the department. At the same time, what we're trying to do is to ensure that we can continue to sustain this. The plan is a 2-year. It's a plan for our kids,
Mhm.
right? And this is how the city is making a commitment. But we do need funding in order to ensure that we have the staffing capacity to actually execute the plan at this moment in time. So therefore, we can't really expand. And given the current budget situation, it's going to be very difficult.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Park.
He just answered my question, so thank you.
All right, wonderful. Do we have any other requests to comment? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate it. And of course, the Children and Youth Services Master Plan always informs all of our decisions, and it's really the base for our work. So thank you for taking the time to come out here.
Thank you so much.
All right, we will now move to our next item. We will be discussing the Youth Priorities Survey and Budget Summit in order to write our memo for the mayor. All right, so this is, before we start, I will take public comment.
There are none.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to move into commission discussion. Basically, I want to hear your suggestions on what you want to be on our memo, which is sent to the mayor for our budget addenda. Yeah. Basically, just outline the points that you think are necessary to be in this message, specific points or different things outlining the main points of that day. So please be very specific with your advice as well as give examples if you may. All right, Commissioner Deschmuck.
Okay, one thing I think we should include in the letter, and one thing I think we should clarify is regarding housing. So Megan told me earlier before the meeting that the mayor's March budget message actually kind of agreed with what we discussed during the budget summit, which is essentially not increasing funding for housing, but rather redistributing that money. So I think we should clarify that when we're not asking for an increase in budget due to also the tight budget restrictions this year, that doesn't mean we're not asking for changes in how that money is handled, and instead asking for redistribution. I'm not exactly confident right now in what that redistribution would be, but if anyone else has any ideas on that, that would be great.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
I was going to say something more general. I guess the survey results, not survey results, sorry, the results of the end of the budget summit when we voted with the money that we had. I think that's something that we should include for sure. I don't remember exactly what the standings were, but I knew it was violence and safety was number 1 and education and career if I'm not wrong, was number 2, like tied. But that's something we should include in it for sure because it reflects like the priorities of the youth, especially when it comes to the survey.
All right. Anyone else? Does anyone have any suggestions about the layout of our agenda? For example, the what comes first, what comes second, what comes third? Obviously, it'll mostly be chronological with the events of the day, but is there anything you want to point out? Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
I think it should start off with maybe findings from the survey that we accumulated over the past couple months. I think that's a good way to open it. And then maybe more about the actual budget summit day, like kind of following the agenda of it, and then like closing statements. I think that would be a solid, like, I don't know, flow of the letter.
Commissioner Deshmukh.
Adding on to what Neha said, I think when we're also talking about the findings of the survey, we could go on to talking about the methods of collecting that data, which I think was in the presentation, because it's kind of, I think it's important that the fact that we got very little from social media, I think it's primarily my fault, and then we got a lot from email. So, like, that kind of changes the results.
All right. Commissioner Yu.
I was wondering if you could maybe give like a basic framework of what you were planning to do first so we could give more feedback.
Yeah, I think the plan we had right now was just to do like a chronological order of events, basically start with the survey, as Neha suggested, and then go through the events of the day and any things that stood out to us, or like trends that are different from previous years, and then finally end with our results. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Park.
Wait, yeah, okay. Um, I was thinking it's an important part to put in all the statistics we gathered. I think that speaks a lot, and it's the evidence that's backing our reasoning for that. And um, especially for violence and safety, which is interesting because I've been to AVCA and the police captains came and talked, and he actually said the violence decreased, but the youth perception of that seems different, especially considering that previous years it was also ranked as the highest. So maybe that's something we want to consider putting into the report.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely important. I'll write that down. Commissioner Chung?
Yeah, so I have 3 sections I think we should add to this letter. So firstly, well, I want to agree with Commissioner Park, and I also want to say that I think we should make specific mention of more funding for community service officers, CSOs, because there's still obviously very large manpower gap in SJPD, and the youth perception, again, is not the best. And that's a systemic issue. It's not going to necessarily be solved in a year, but I think having more increased CSO numbers so that police are actually solving crimes, doing the jobs they signed up for, as opposed to doing things like dealing with traffic violations would certainly help. And I think we should, in this letter, include at least some part saying that that is an objective that we support. Secondly, I kind of want to echo the concerns that my council member expressed when the mayor's budget message passed. In its current form, I think the message is, I don't think it's doing enough, frankly, on affordability. And I think it's almost abandoning our city's middle and lower classes. I think affordability should be a very, very high priority for our city. And especially, I'm seeing people in my district, even some people I know personally who are having tons of problems with food insecurity, some of whom are dealing with malnutrition right now. And I think it's absolutely imperative, both from a moral and a practical standpoint, that we make very clear that we support additional items in the budget that were rejected. So I want us to include a line saying that we explicitly support item 3.3 or file 26251. And it's in close recommendations. So those are suggestions to reduce homelessness, build more housing, increase community safety, ease childcare costs, et cetera. So I wanted to say as close to verbatim as possible in this letter that we as a youth commission, support increasing San Jose's affordability, and that in our eyes is a top priority. Thirdly, and this is like less important, but I think that not necessarily as a high priority, but as a priority somewhere, I think it'd be nice if we mentioned having some allocations for planting like public fruit trees. I saw that in a reel actually a little bit ago, but I think one, it's not summer yet, but I'm sure we've all been feeling the heat really badly. So having public shade in city-owned areas would be good for one thing. And second, because those would grow fruit for the community, that can also help combat food insecurity, which, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's a very salient issue I've noticed in my district personally. And I think it's one that necessitates a response. And I think there should be some mention of planting native California wildflowers in public areas as well, similarly. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've been to parks lately in my district, and it's just like a lawn when there's so many different, diverse wildflowers and flora and fauna that are native to here that I think we can help foster. So I think having some mention of that would be important as well.
Yeah, now that you bring it up, I think one thing we could do is, since we want to stay mostly consistent with our work plan for the majority of the letter, I think we can have a section that is meant for additional suggestions for funding, and we can put in the shade as well as the wildflowers and things like that. Do you guys like that idea? Okay. All right, we also have Commissioner Park. Actually, sorry, could you wait? You already spoke. I'm gonna go with Commissioner Canfield.
I just wanted to make sure when we were having the budget summit, I remember Marion was very cognizant to include all the context that came with the results of the survey. For example, for the I remember that crime or safety and crime violence was a large part of the budget summit, and it was seen as very important. And it is important to include in the letter the context, which was that this survey was sent out around the shooting that happened at Valley Fair, which is not to say that violence and safety is less important. It is just something to keep in mind because it could affect that perception. However, violence and safety is still, a very important issue.
It's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Commissioner Quinn?
Yeah, I was gonna add on to Anishka's suggestion. I would really think it would be important to discuss the survey methodologies, more specifically how we conducted the outreach for the survey, how we publicized it on our social media, how we, got it to be posted through the library website and stuff like that. I would also like to mention like the methodology for us doing outreach for the budget summit. If it's possible, maybe talk about like the demographics of the students who showed up, if we were able to collect that. But yeah, when they signed up, maybe. I don't know. Okay, it's okay.
I don't think we have that data, but I'm sure we can use the survey data to relay the same point. All right. Commissioner Babu?
Okay, this is more general, but I think it would be important to add like specific quotes or specific stuff that people had on their slides when they presented into our budget letter. Because a lot of people said a lot of good points when they presented. I'm not sure if it was recorded or not, but I think it's imperative to add that because it speaks. I know like Marion's gonna write the letter, but I think it's really important to include more youth voices. So if we like heard some stuff, we should definitely quote it, or if there were like important images or even like stuff that they wrote on their presentation, I think we should definitely incorporate into the different sections.
Okay, Commissioner Park?
Okay. Going back to the violence and safety topic, I think it's important that we kind of highlight how broad of a category this is and what part is really being affected. So, like Fiona said, it was right after the Valley Fair shooting, and that might have affected how the surveyors wrote their responses. But I know my YAC member, she's actually working on an app that's cracking down on sexual harassment and stuff. And most of those cases don't really get reported, but they do affect the perception on how violence and safety works. And I think that might play a role in how the police are saying the violence is actually going down. But the youth are saying it's still the same. So maybe be more transparent with what categories we surveyed for. And yeah, and then another question I guess I have is, are we going to give them the raw solutions that we got from the budget summit, or are we thinking of generalizing it and then giving that to the mayor?
So that's actually up to us. We tend to generalize, but if you guys want to be more specific, that's okay.
What was that question again, Kyle? Ask it again.
The solutions we came up for in the budget summit, are we going to give that as raw solutions, or are we going to generalize the solutions into maybe like one or two
Okay.
for each
yeah.
category? Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were asking like how this letter gets delivered, and I was going to
No.
clarify that. You can answer that, Mary.
Yeah. Also with this one, the emphasis is on where the money goes. And it's not a ton on our solutions, but solution is also something in there. Yeah. So it's priorities. It's saying this is what is important to youth, not really like this is what's important to youth, so this is what you should do as mayor. It's not that. But I also want to touch on your other point when you said kind of explaining how although violence may be going down, it's not in the lives of youth. I think what you're trying to say, in my perspective, is giving insight into youth perspective on violence rather than just the numbers, is what you're saying, right?
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, wonderful. I'll make sure to write that down. Okay, and then one thing before we continue, I do want to say one thing that's very important that will be in our letter, usually near the end, is asking for money for specific youth commission initiatives and activities. And it's not specific, it's mostly just general, like we can say, oh, next year we're thinking of doing this and this, and we would like to have this much money to pursue these endeavors and to do our work. So that will be in there for sure. And now we can move on. Commissioner Chung.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I think it's already kind of been mentioned. I wanted to like say, I guess explicitly that I think when we're discussing the violence and safety part of our survey, like we should be clear that yes, it is an increasing problem for our youth and like our perceptions of violence and safety. But I think we should also simultaneously make it very clear that like objectively that is not happening in terms of like crime by numbers. Like we are not seeing a crime wave, even though that is the broader societal perception from people our age that like it is less safe in San Jose. So I think while we express that like yes, a lot of us do feel unsafe in San Jose, and that's like a problem that's been getting worse and worse over time. I think we should also make it clear that that's not necessarily something that's going to be helped through like say like tripling the police budget or something like that. Like the actual numbers are getting better, even though our perception is necessarily not the same.
Thank you. Commissioner Deshmukh.
For Kyle's question on whether we offer like specific solutions or like generalizations, I think we can offer some specific solutions as examples or suggestions, depending on the ones that we liked in the presentations or we believe that would be effective. But yeah, I agree with the point that Commissioner Jareski made that it should be mostly generalizations. I also had one question. For the end of the letter, when we're asking for money for our activities for next year, are these like specific numbers, like we would like this much money to do this activity or something?
Yeah, we usually give an estimate of how much we want, and then they don't usually match it. They can kind of give us how much money they deem fit. Commissioner Guerrero.
I kind of thought it was important as well to mention like education. I know that kind of like aligns as well with like our work plan. And I think during the summit, I think one of like the quotes that we saw coming in from like students and youth were that like they were scared like after high school, like finding a job or like work opportunities or internship opportunities. So I thought that was like important to highlight. And I know like what someone mentioned was that like the city does like work fairs or work expo fairs. and how they thought it would be cool to have those kind of also like aim towards high school students. So working with like high school districts, like the East Sardinia High School District, to integrate more like work career fairs, internship fairs, or like collaborations between like the city and like high schools. I thought that would be important to highlight.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from that is you want to emphasize the importance of education, the progress the city has made with its initiatives, and the fact that you want them to continue allocating budget towards this same endeavor.
Kind of. I think I kind of wanted to highlight more, like they wanted more collaboration between the city and local high schools because
Okay,
they do career fairs and expo fairs, but they're like mostly aimed towards like 25 to 30-year-olds. Like even on the flyers that they post on social media, it says like age groups. So I think they wanted to see more of those career and expo fairs, but aimed towards high school students or like even opportunities, internship opportunities. They thought that would be cool.
Okay, perfect. All right, Commissioner Yu.
I don't know if this was like explicitly said, but I think we should also for violence and safety emphasize that like the increase in like perception of like a more need to like put resources in violence and safety might be due to the fact that there have been like many high profile like shootings that have occurred. And like that kind of ties back to the fact that like the solution offered during the budget summit was also a biometric gun lock rather than any other way to target like other issues relating to violence safety. I think that's something we definitely need to like mention.
Yeah, I think what we're planning, from what I'm hearing from all of you, I think we're going to open with some context. We're going to say, this is how the survey was collected. These are methods, as well as this is what was happening in the world that we believe might have affected the responses. And then we can kind of start going into each topic and our priorities from there. We'll probably start with violence and safety since it is the first one. Yeah. All right, Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
And adding on to what Marian said, I think more of a clarification on what we did last year was we started off with a little bit of context with the survey. Then, as Marian said, we like talked about each individual priority that we listed on the survey. And I think these also included maybe 1 to 2 solutions that the groups at the budget summit came up. It was very like generalized. I think Kyle like kind of answers your question a little bit. And then we at the end talked about the budget request. And I think last year we asked for $11,000 for youth-led citywide civic programs. And this was distributed, well, we wanted it to be distributed as $1,000 per each YAC project. And then $8,000 was for our annual Youth Commission recognition event that happens at the end of the year. But yeah, that was just a general layout that we used. And I honestly think that's something we should do this year. And obviously our priorities will be different based on our survey. But yeah.
All right, Commissioner Park.
To answer Micah's comment earlier, yeah, I don't think we should triple the police budget because of our budget summit survey. But I think what we need more is, I'd say, more like assess the youth's perception on what they categorize as violence and safety. That might be different than what San Jose PD sees as violence and safety, and see what the youth really thinks violence and safety is, and then kind of bridge that gap. I think that should be our job. And then also for the budget request for Youth Commission, is that a topic that we can have right now, or is that a topic for later?
Can you repeat that last part?
The budget request that we're going to ask for ask the mayor, is that a topic we're going to have right now or something later?
That will be in this letter, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chung?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree, and I also wanted to say that I think because it's more of like a perception issue, maybe we could also recommend that the city council would ask like the police department to invest more in like youth outreach, for example, because I feel like if they had, for example, like a I actually don't know if San Jose PD has an Instagram account or not, but at least I've never seen it. Like, even though like my geolocation is set to San Jose, so I get a lot of local recommendations. I've personally never seen them, so I think if there was more online outreach, that can like help tout like, oh, there's like less crime, for example. I feel like that would do a lot more as opposed to any other like methods of doing that, at least specifically for like, teenagers our age.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you want to emphasize the fact that youth would like to have more accessibility to these same services by the police. And you want to do that through social media awareness.
Yeah, basically. Like if there was a dedicated well actually, again, I don't know if there is or not, but if at least if there's more emphasis on like a dedicated like channel for youth to like be like tapped in about like local events and specifically crime, I feel like that would go a long way towards reducing, I guess, this perception that we've kind of like ended up with. Because again, it's not like based in reality.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Park?
I think building off what Micah said, the general problem right now for that's compassing this violence and safety and whatnot is the youth are pretty disconnected from their local government, and they see what's going on at the federal and state level, and that's how they respond. I think a budget request idea would be to bridge that gap to get youth more involved in local government so that they can see what work is actually being done, rather than seeing what the federal government and the state government's doing and then regurgitating that in our local government.
So that would fall under civic engagement. Do you have any more specific examples of how you want to increase civic engagement?
I'd say what I did with my yak for Youth Connect, that's kind of like the direction I was looking for. Maybe we can replicate that with other council members and the mayor and other local city officials.
All right, so tying that into budget, would that be allocation towards council member offices dedicated towards youth outreach? Is that kind of the thing?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
I think more on, shoot, I lost my train of thought, sorry. More on like the layout of the letter in general. I know we talked earlier about like having it closely aligned to our work plan as well. And I was wondering if there's anything specific regarding the priorities of like immigration, because I know that was our work plan priority this year that you guys wanted to include in the letter. I was just putting it out there if you have any ideas.
Commissioner Yu.
I just wanted to quickly say, like, I'm not sure if there are any like initiatives related to immigration right now that like directly needs funding. I feel like a lot of immigration related issues right now are mainly policy related things. So I feel like it's not super necessary to be mentioning it in the budget. However, I do think that if we can tie in maybe Micah's letter about the flock cameras, maybe like I don't know if that would be a budget related issue because we are paying for those cameras. Something like that, maybe.
I will definitely write that down. I think we should consider that. Does anyone have any thoughts regarding what Ruby just said? New thoughts? Okay, Commissioner Deschmuck.
It's not exactly, it's a clarification. One of the things you said about flock safety. On March 10th, I think City Council voted to put regulations on automated license plate readers. I'm not sure if it's gotten to the point of what we requested in the letter, but they are regulations. So we could still include it in the March budget letter, but like how, based on the regulations that have already been put in place, like what are we asking City Council to do, I guess?
Okay, and it is to my knowledge that the City Council also got a hold of this letter and got to read it, correct, before making their decision. So I think they're already well informed of our initiative. I don't think we need to mention explicitly this initiative, but if we do want to mention immigration, we could include flock if we don't have something else to talk about. Commissioner Chung.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering if we could, because I'm not sure if we talked about this earlier, but I know that at some library spots they have like those Know Your Rights cards for, like people specifically dealing with like ICE. Um, I don't know how much those cost. I don't know how much that would like factor into the budget, but we could feasibly mention something like that because. I mean, obviously, I do want the flock thing to be included as something I supported, but it's also I think if we get this point, we're kind of beating a dead horse if we put it in. So I think something dealing with like know your rights cards or like some kind of like distributable, maybe like even like flyers, but something of that sort that we could put in like libraries or like I don't know, even like around here, for example, for people to have access to. I feel like that'd be a good thing to mention.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Yeah, I don't think that'll go into like the budget because I feel like we can get those for free near Fiona's District 2 with Amigos de Guadalupe, right? I think they give a bunch of no, not Fiona, sorry. Commissioner, is it district? I forgot what district it is. In Hermanos de Guadalupe is over there. Yeah, they're free. We can get them whenever we need them. And it's like that is a really good idea of having them out in libraries. And I think we are able to get those pretty easily.
Does anyone strongly feel that that should be in our letter? Or just the topic of immigration in general?
I mean, considering that we can like get them for free, I don't think it needs to be in there. But I think it should be mentioned like generally, but I don't think doesn't really look like we have any specific things.
Okay. Commissioner Guerrero.
Yeah, I think I was thinking kind of like the same thing. Like they are free. You can get them like through the county, through any nonprofit. Like you can get them for free. So I don't think we need to like ask for a budget, but I think maybe like kind of what Micah was saying, maybe like we can add something about doing like outreach. I know most public like spaces already have them. Like I do want to mention it because again, it's an important topic as well. It came up during the budget summit. It's continuously coming up. I'm just not too sure like whether we can put it in as like maybe we need more of a reach of outreach, more of like outreach throughout the community because I know they are also in public spaces. So at the libraries, most community centers already have them. So I wouldn't be like, I'm not too sure what we would exactly ask for.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So I'm going to go over what we've mentioned so far. I'm kind of going to glaze over since we did talk about a lot. But as I said before, we will first start by giving context for the methods of collecting data as well as events that were currently happening during the surveyed period. Then we'll go through initial survey results, highlighting things such as demographics or certain trends we saw. After that, we will start going into our specific priorities and we will list them out. After listing them out in number order, we will then go into a little bit more detail. We'll start out with violence and safety. We will acknowledge that although numbers may point out that they are going down, youth perception of safety is not improving. In fact, it's getting worse due to some events or other conditions. Later on, we will then go over our other priorities, including education, emphasize the change as well as how the city could be doing more collaborations between high schools and cities. We will then continue with each of our other priorities, highlighting one or two suggestions that we said tonight for solutions as well as things from our budget summit and our survey. After that, we will go into kind of our additional suggestion section, which is like, as you said, the shade and the wildflowers, things that might not be our top priorities, but are some suggestions we have for the city and for the budget. We will then close out with some things the Youth Commission has been deciding for their priorities. Basically, we continue to emphasize immigration as well as community and placemaking, and then education. And that is, after that, we will connect it to our request for our budget for the next year, and we will outline some of the things such as our end of the year session, as well as $1,000 or so for each YAC. All right, does anyone have any more comments regarding this? Commissioner Chung?
Yeah, just at the end for the priorities, can we also add affordability alongside like education and immigration?
Yes, sorry, I wrote that down. I just glazed over. All right. Wonderful. So we now have to have a motion for this. Do we have a motion authorizing the chair to draft a budget letter incorporating topics discussed during this meeting? Upon completion, the letter will be signed by the chair on behalf of the Youth Commission and sent to council.
Commissioner Chang, I motion to do the following.
Do we have any seconds?
Commissioner Canfield seconds.
All those in favor, please vote on your screens. All those who oppose and any abstentions, also vote on your screens. All right, this motion unanimously passes. We'll now move on to the next section, which is reports and informationals only. First off, we have our council liaison report from Community Relations Coordinator, Anthony Montez, who will be joining us on Zoom, I presume? Okay.
Good evening, Commission. Hello, y'all. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me? Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I was really enjoying the conversation you were just having before around your priorities. I did share that survey out with our school districts in South San Jose, including San Jose Unified and the Eastside Union High School District to distribute to their folks. So it's been a busy month or so. I think last time you met, I'm sorry, I always do this. Well, you kind of introduced me. Hey, everyone, my name is Anthony Montes. I'm the Community Relations Coordinator for Councilmember Pamela Campos. She's the liaison to the Youth Commission, and I'm providing updates on her behalf. When we spoke last year about how you want to structure these, we really focus on some of the updates from council, so I'll be diving right into those. On March 3rd, a big item related to reasonable accommodation processes and personal property was heard by the City Council. This was actually an item that Councilmember Campos co-authored and led to better understand how the city approaches encampments and specifically how they decide what to keep in terms of personal property or belongings, and then the storage of them, and then the retrieval. So for instance, if you are someone who's unhoused and you're abated, you're told to leave, but you don't leave, or if you leave some stuff behind, Beautify SJ will take it and store it someplace, and then they will coordinate drop-off. In early conversations, it was unclear before this policy came to council, before it was even something that the city had to look at. In doing our investigation, we found that there wasn't a lot of clarity around some processes. Something like 6% of all property that was collected was actually retrieved, and which is what's more interesting is that the property that was collected, it was even a smaller portion of what was actually there at the encampment. So you're talking about a fraction of a fraction that's actually ever retrieved. Most of it never goes anywhere. The other piece of this was when someone has a disability of some kind and they're asked to abate, what does it look like to provide them with reasonable accommodation? So back in October, I think it was September, October, the council member co-authored a memo, 2 rules to get the Beautify SJ, who does the property, and then the housing department to talk about reasonable accommodation, right? What does it look like when you do that? Because it wasn't very clear, and when we asked for standard operating procedures, they weren't sufficient in our eyes. So we asked them to come back with something more detailed, right? Here's the workflow. Here's how we determine what's what, definitions, processes, right? Things like that. And we got that on March 3rd. That was what we asked for, but I think we could have done more. And one of the things that we were able to do is the council member specifically wanted language around making sure that we get lived experience from unhoused neighbors about this whole process, right? So as we tweak the process in the future, how can we get that input from our lived our neighbors with lived experience. So we were able to get a little friendly amendment to do that work, and it should be going back to a committee meeting to see what the progress is around those things. That was March 3rd. So, March 10th, someone alluded to this. There was 2 items of note. One was the Flock camera item. Technically, it's the automated license plate reader data usage protocol is what the actual name of it was. So that was brought forth by our own police chief because of what was happening in other cities after Flock started. After Flock in a way betrayed the trust of the public, right? You can't have public safety without actually having buy-in and trust, right? To know that the technologies that we deploy, the people that we send out into our community are well trained, that they have a set of guardrails, right? And that they don't violate rights. And when our vendor Flock, right, essentially goes back on some of the agreements, right, especially with the data usage, I think it's incumbent on the city to look at alternative vendors. So that's what we use the opportunity for. Council member and a Brown Act group said, hey, we like what the chief put together in terms of reducing the storage of the data from 1 year to 30 days, right? They added additional levels of accountability so that, before we release any data to another agency, we have thorough vetting with the supervisor's approval, right? And there was other little process-oriented things there, and that's great. But we really felt strongly that we could do a little more, and the council member and her group put in some extra provisions around making sure that the data collected isn't training any AI models either within the city or externally, whatever the vendor is, that there isn't any ability ever to use facial recognition software or biometric analysis or incorporating that kind of software with the cameras. And also making sure that there's a transparency when there's ever leaks. That's really, really important. And what does that process look like? And then most importantly, we asked the city manager to explore alternative vendors because the license plate readers is a technology, right? It's the actual infrastructure, hardware. The Flock is just a software that helps us kind of make sense of that data and helps us make sense of all of those inputs. We don't have to have Flock. Flock isn't the only company that can do that. And we should be able to have a vendor that we can trust and that will follow the agreements that we have. I think that's really important. The other item, that's that one. The other one, and then this will come back to the Public Safety Finance Strategic Support Committee, what we call the PIS-FIS committee, to understand how IT is working, to make sure that we're following all these rules. The next thing is there was a police overtime spending item, which was really interesting. So because we're understaffed at a PD level, there is a lot of overtime that is required to be able to provide the services that we need and to have full coverage. So we are budgeted for a certain amount of positions, but we never actually hit those positions. So we have all this extra money, but that gets eaten up by overtime. So our overtime recently has been a little bit out of hand. So the police chief, especially in a time of fiscal constraints, $55 million deficit, we need to better deploy our resources. So they are pooling certain folks from a variety of different programs, right? So that we can have that patrol and that response times that we need for our communities. So, programs like the BART Transit Unit, they eliminated position. School liaison units lost a couple of folks, one sergeant, one officer. The traffic enforcement, right? lost several officers as well. We lost some foot patrol, and it's not like they're being cut or they're fired or let go. It's just that they're reassigning them from those units so that we can provide the maximum coverage that we need to provide adequate service when we have requests for responses. But that was important, and that all those changes is going to save about $8 million in overtime. So that's going to be really good for the bottom line. We had some concerns around those programs, specifically the school liaison unit and obviously the traffic safety unit. Those are really important programs for our community members. But that's the police stuff that happened on 310. Last week, you guys are aware, it was the mayor's budget message. High level, it was a lot of similar to last year. I think there was bigger fights last year among the city council. This year, I think it's moving forward some of the initiatives that the mayor had outlined last year with some adjustments. A welcomed adjustment is that we're going to be reallocating, I think, about 10% measure dollars from 5 to 10 for prevention so that we can help folks stay in their homes and not fall into homelessness. It's a lot more cost efficient when we can keep people housed than when we have to pull them out of homelessness. So that's welcome news. The council member put in a provision around converting the One Branham Lane shelter into permanent supportive or permanent affordable housing for people over the age of 55 and with disabilities rather, not and. So there's a couple of things that we got through, but we really wanted more money for the children youth master plan, children youth services master plan. I think that was something we were shooting for $1 million. The mayor's really going to stay at 500,000. That's what he really is comfortable at. But we did get a friendly amendment to explore using opioid settlement funds to supplement that funding. So welcome that $500,000. There's also going to be different fellowships that are going to help us fundraise for things like homelessness prevention and eventually for the Children and Youth Services Master Plan. But we need to find creative ways to fund it. The opioid settlement funds is an interesting idea. If you don't know, it's funding from class action lawsuit from a bunch of secretaries of state across the country that sued big pharma companies who were poisoning and killing and addicting essentially folks, and they did it intentionally. And there's a really long story there to the point where they actually became liable and had to pay money, and that money is now being used to do restorative programs, get people into recovery or things like this, do some of the youth intervention work. So we're exploring that. I think that's welcome news. There are other things that we're going to keep fighting for around early childcare education, around our code enforcement, supporting our parks and our libraries. So nothing's baked in. If you have a chance to read the mayor's 40-something page memo, good on you. And I look forward to seeing that letter that the Youth Commission puts together. Lastly, we have a couple of events. I don't know why I'm looking around. It's in front of me. March Madness events downtown this month. There's this guy named Shaquille O'Neal who's apparently going to be a DJ. If you don't know who Shaquille O'Neal, I think everybody here knows who Shaquille O'Neal is, right? Right. Okay. He's really, really famous for selling fantastic lotion. I don't think he's famous for anything else. And then Eastside Quest is going to be, and then Viva Calle is coming next month. I won't be seeing you. I'll be seeing you next time after that. So I want to make sure it's on your radar. The theme is Eastside Quest. It's really, really cool. April's the first one. It's exciting. And then we'll have another in June and in September. So if you've never been to Viva Calle, it is the coolest thing. It's probably San Jose's marquee event, I would say. And I'm not just saying that because I used to work for the Bicycle Coalition, but there might be a correlation there. All righty, I'll take questions at this point if there are any.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation and for taking time out of your busy day to be here. As usual, your reports are very informative, and we really do appreciate it as it gives us a new perspective into kind of how each city council member operates. Yes, Kyle.
I just have one question. For police overtime spending, the not being able to meet staff requirements, what is the actual problem? Is it like recruitment and you guys are not getting lack of interest, or there's just lack of funding to get new recruits?
Oh no, we fund positions. So it's not that the department doesn't have budget. We fund positions that we can't fill. It's more that recruitment is tough. The profession has lost its I don't know how you would say it. It's lost its desire for some folks. Um, and you can't lower your standards. Whenever I talk to the police captain about this, it's like, look, we're not going to lower our standards so that we can fill positions. You know, it's still hard to get in. They want to make sure they get the best folks. Also, the cost of living is pretty bad here in San Jose. You were talking about affordability earlier in your conversation around the budget. For police, it's really difficult to lure people from the outside, right? San Jose is expensive, so you won't be living in the best areas if you come here, even on a starting police salary. And then if you do homegrown, if you do get people who live here, who grew up here, and you train them up, you get them through the process. Usually after like 2 or 5 years of experience, they can go to another department, make the same or more, probably more, and not have to spend as much in rent and other things. So retention's difficult too. But the department's doing what they can to recruit, especially women. And there was just an event down in South San Jose at the substation that was promoting, that was helping women get through the process and encouraging them to apply for the academy. So it's more of a retention and a recruitment thing.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Canfield.
There we go. Thank you for your presentation today. It was very informative and lots of interesting things. I had a question about, so as I assume we all know, a bit ago, allegations from the New York Times came out against Cesar Chavez of sexual assault. And I know that the state of California was thinking of renaming March 31st, Cesar Chavez holiday, as Farm Workers Day. And I was wondering if City Council has talked about changing anything or what steps are going to be taken to address these allegations against what is a very important member of our community who did great things to support farm workers. But I think that these allegations cannot be ignored.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, I have friends whose parents marched with him. I have a friend whose grandparents owned a bar, and Cesar frequented that bar and was like it was a big hangout for a lot of the rank and file. So like it's very local and it hits hard here in San Jose. But I think what we need to do is make sure that we honor survivors, that we honor the farm workers movement, and do our best to support the former and then uncouple the farm workers movement with people. I mean, or with specific people, right? So Cesar Chavez probably at some point was the movement, and that's why folks protected him, right? Because attacking him was attacking the movement, just like in some ways attacking the civil rights movement, you would attack MLK. That's what the FBI tried to do. I won't go on that tangent. So I think we need to do is uplift the people in the movement, like Dolores Huerta and others who helped build that union, who helped build that network of solidarity and helped us move forward. So the city council has started that process. My council member and other council members introduced a memorandum to rules to begin doing an inventory of everything Cesar Chavez related that the city has purview over. Once they put together that inventory, then they'll do a workload assessment. This is where it gets bureaucratic. And then they'll tell us this is how much money, this is how many resources, this is what it's going to take, and then it'll go before council, and the council will approve it to start that process of taking down and scrubbing Cesar Chavez related art, names for streets, anything that touches the city. So it was really, really hard on the council member last week. I know personally, it took a little toll, and domestic violence, sexual assault is something that we'll have to contend with forever, probably. But we have to make sure that we're advocates, that we do whatever we can to protect folks. See something, say something, and to uplift our survivors. So yeah, it was a tough week. That's what the city council is going to start doing.
Commissioner Chung.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving your report and spending your time here today. I think we all appreciate it very much. I just want to ask, are there any plans currently in the works to replace some of these memorials and I guess other honorifics for Cesar Chavez with similar ones, or maybe I guess even renaming instead to honor Dolores Huerta?
Yeah. Once it comes to rules, you can advocate for that, right? And what you should name it instead. I don't know. That's my answer, because there has to be a process that's followed, and then they can outline what changes are possible, and that includes those statues and all of those things. I heard that there's some that are already being covered and things like that. So I would say that city council will definitely explore that.
All right. Once again, thank you so much for your report and for your lengthy and really well-informed answers to our questions. We appreciate it. We hope you have a great night and that you get tons of rest, tons of sleep. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Next up, we have our Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services report from Recreation Superintendent Jeremy Schaffner, who will also be joining us on Zoom.
Good evening, commission members. Thank you for having me tonight. I know you're probably used to my colleague, Miss Lauren Box, providing these updates in the past. She received an opportunity. It has started on a great new chapter. And so I will be joining you in the interim to provide you with some updates on our Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services Department. With that, I'm going to share the screen if it will allow me. Almost there. So I'm hoping that you're able to see the screen right now. Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services Department, Youth Commission updates. Our first one is to go over recruitments that were previously communicated to the commission. I'm happy to announce our aquatics related positions. Recruitments have been completed. They were successful in those and are currently in process. Class instructor and camp counselors continue to be open until filled. We're continuing to work to fill those critical positions to many of our programs and offer services throughout our department and programs. Recreation leader did close recently, and that one is in process. Again, thank you for your support and helping us get the word out. Additionally, coming up here, we're headed out, ready for summer. Summer camps do start this mid-June. They are currently open. Registration is open. So if you know of anyone or yourselves are interested, please come to our department website where we have all the information listed. We also continue to offer late night gym programs. They started back in October every Wednesday at our Seven Trees Community Center. Ages are 12 to 20, and those occur every Wednesday from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Additionally, our summer swim program is right around the corner. It starts June 15th, goes through August 8th. The 4 pools that we will be operating directly by Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services are the Camden Pool, Rotary Ryland Pool, Mayfair Pool, and the Fair Swim Center. Each of these pools will be offering recreation swim for everyone, free, no charge. We will also be offering lessons. Lessons do have a fee, but we do offer a scholarship program for those that are eligible. If you're looking for more information, you can go to sanjoseca.gov/SJ Swim, or feel free to email us and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. From our Parks Division, construction on the Taco Bridge begins in late March and is expected to be completed mid-May. Additionally, as already communicated, we have our Viva Kaya event that comes April 19th. It's being called the East Side Quest. We start the route at 10 a.m. It goes till 3 p.m. And specifically, it's going to be an opportunity for, if you come out and join us, to bike, skate, walk, or roll from Mexican Heritage Plaza to Alum Rock Village, or from Cimarron Park to Furnish Park. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to do different routes, engage in activities, and see all the great things that our parks and all of our teams have to offer in local community. In addition, as we continue to go forward, we have bike lessons at the Action Sports Park and skate lessons. These continue. I believe that these were already brought up last month, but we will continue to highlight these as an ongoing opportunity. From our Community Services Division, we do have fixed dumpster days. Bethesda Park is the first Friday of the month. Mayfair, we have second Saturday of the month. Seven Trees is the third Saturday of the month. Starboard Youth Center is the fourth Saturday of the month. And other cleanups can be found at beautifysj.org. Most of these, as you can see, are from 8 to 11:30 a.m. Like at the Bethesda Park, you can see an example of the flyer right there that describes those items. And as usual, please, if you do see illegal dumping, report illegal dumping or graffiti via the 311 or online apps. With that, that does conclude my update for all of you tonight. I'm here to answer any questions or follow up, or if there's additional information needed, happy to get back to you on that either next month or via email in the interim.
Thank you so much for your report. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
All right, moving on, we have our San Jose Public Library report from Division Manager Vidya Colombi.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to provide the library update. SJPL invites you to vote for your favorite educator. As the library city department leading the city's education initiative, the library is proud to announce the second annual San Jose Educator of the Year Award to honor local educators during Teacher Appreciation Week, May 4th to 8th, 2026. The library invites students, parents, colleagues, and community members to nominate an outstanding TK through 12th grade educator now through April 15th. Each award recipient will be recognized with the commendation from San Jose City Council and will also receive a $500 award made possible through the generous support of the San Jose Public Library Foundation. In honor of Women's History Month, library staff is hosting a variety of programs to recognize women past and present by highlighting the special collections by Edmonia Lewis and Edith Harvey Heron, recommended staff reads, online resources, and more. SJPL also recognizes our Irish community and culture during Irish American Heritage Month through programs like Story Times, Arts and Crafts, and special concert by Hardly Strictly Irish on Friday, March 27th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. at the West Valley Library. The library is also happy to announce its 6th annual Spring into Poetry contest next month in celebration of National Poetry Month. With 4 age categories, the top 3 winners in each group will receive a prize bundle that will include books, writing supplies, and more. The contest closes on Thursday, April 30th. SJPL also provides free tax help. Make tax season easier this year with free tax preparation for those who qualify, plus resources and information for everyone. Learn more about how you can access tax help from VITA, volunteer income tax assistance, tax aid, and tax fellows. Our library will be closed. All libraries will be closed on Tuesday, March 31st, but we are always open online at sjpl.org. Thank you. That concludes my update. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from commissioners? All right. It seems we do not. Once again, thank you for coming out here. We appreciate it. And the information is always helpful. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, moving on, we have the commission chair report from me. All right, so I have a few things to tell you guys, to remind you about. I wrote them down on my notes app, but my notes app is not working. So, one moment. Okay, well, in the meantime, I'll try and do it from memory. So first off, as you know, in 2 weeks, our reports are due for our district reports. Please make sure you get started on that earlier rather than later. It will be pretty difficult if you do it last minute, and we prefer if you can make it genuine. So make sure to get ready for that. Also, start considering potential recipients of your YAC awards. For those of you who don't know, each year we choose a few members, 1, 2, or 3 members from our YACs, and we give them specific awards that basically embody one of the commission's driving principles. For example, there's empowerment. There's some others as well. Responsibility. Yeah, things like that. So I can send you guys a little message reminding you of the qualities, but kind of just start thinking of people in your YAC that have helped with a lot of things or have made a big difference, and you think that they really deserve this award, since it is kind of a big deal. And these people will be invited to our closing ceremony as well to receive their award. So, and when do we need those by, Megan? A month or so? End of April. By next Youth Commission meeting, please make sure you send us your recipients. Yes, Fiona.
Is that one like sorry, is it like one award per YAC or one for all the YACs?
Basically, each commissioner looks at their own YAC and considers whether they want to give out an award, because you don't have to,
Okay.
and you choose who to give it to.
But it's not like we're submitting people and then there's like one person per responsibility,
No,
one
no.
person for empowerment.
Whoever you suggest will get an award.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Dali, do you have questions?
Yeah, that's kind of my question too. Like, is it like 3 overall, or like we each pick 3 people?
No. Okay, I'll re-explain it. Basically, in your YAC, if there is someone you believe deserves an award, you can nominate it, and they will get that reward. They're not competing with anyone else. If you want them to get an award, they will get that award. You do not have to choose anyone at all if you believe no one deserves it. And you can choose up to 3 or so. Okay. Commissioner Huen, do you still have a question?
Okay. I don't know if I understood this right, but are we like coming up with the awards that embody what?
No. Every year we have 6 different awards, and you choose one from that list. I'll send them later tonight so you can look over them. But for example, I think 2 years ago, I received the Empowerment Award. And you'll see like the description of a person who suits it. So
If you go to the Youth Commission website, they are the honor code. There are those 6 tenets which you guys agreed to when you signed off. So one is responsibility, teamwork, integrity, empowerment. There's one more that I'm forgetting, but that is what it is. You guys can recognize up to 3 people in your YAC, identifying which one of those that they best represented during their time on your YAC or over the course of this year or in relation to the work plan. You don't have to recognize anybody, but it's really nice to celebrate. And we have a nice time in the rotunda, recognizing each other and all the work that you guys did this year. And there's food. I
Yes.
hope that helps.
That's
You were doing a really good job, Marion. But like I know it just to kind of, so if you're curious, you can go on to the Youth Commission webpage and you'll see the honor code. It's also in your handbook.
Commissioner Chung?
Yeah, so I know the limit's 3, but I'm thinking of like 4 people at least in District 8 that come to mind for me. Can we like combine it so that like 2 people for like 1 word, for example? Or is that not possible?
Megan, what do we think? Could be breaking tradition.
Yes, that's fine. Please just connect with the chair and be like, hey, there's 4 people I want to recognize instead of 3. These are the reasons why. Generally, not everybody recognizes 3 people. And often we don't have everybody attend. It's really in consideration of time because you do speak a little bit about them. And we do also have a limit as to the space and, catering and all that good stuff. But generally that will be okay. Just double check with the chair and make sure that we can accommodate 4. We've had people where they've been allowed to do like 4, sometimes even 5, if it makes sense for the way that we want to give the award. So yeah, that should be fine. We want to celebrate our YAC members and all the hard work that they do.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions on that? I want to make sure you guys understand so you can start thinking about it. Okay. Perfect. I'll move on then. All right. So also next commission meeting, which is on April 27th, is our last meeting time to submit your project proposals for this fiscal year. Our next meeting on April 27th is the last day to submit your project proposals. Yes, and that's not just submit them, it's the last day to get them approved. So obviously submitting 2 weeks before, please remember that. Yes, Commissioner Park.
Is it policy proposals as well or just project proposals?
All proposals.
All proposals. Okay.
Since this is our last meeting of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Oh, we have a May one. Did we have a May one?
Huh.
Oh, okay. Megan, would you like us to?
Hi.
Yes.
So the final meeting of your fiscal year will be May 18th. It is the 3rd Friday, the 3rd Monday of the month because the Monday otherwise is Memorial Day holiday. So if you really want something to be done by the end of the year, it is highly recommended that you submit it in April. We've had many May meetings in the past where there's like 8 project proposals. And remember, you only have so much time because the technical end of the Youth Commission year is technically May 31st. But remember, there's APs and finals and graduations and graduation parties and vacations and summertime and fun. And the other thing that is a priority is the NSC report that some of you will be giving on June 11th. So just keep that in mind. And some of you who are graduating and not continuing on with Youth Commission, the 31st is your last official day as a youth commissioner because the new term would start. So please keep all of that in mind. I hope that was helpful and answered your question.
Yes. Also for clarification, we can hold events over the summer as we have with AIM, but it's usually at the very beginning of June, not really in the middle of summer. And also if you are terming out, you can't really host that meeting. So keep that in mind. I'm going to say April is the encouraged date for you to finally submit your project proposals. If you plan to submit one in May, I will need you to notify me by the April meeting that you have something in the works. and we'll talk about it. Because if it's something you really, really want, and suddenly 2 weeks before the May meeting, you're saying, I really want this to get passed, it's probably not going to get passed. So let me know so we can make sure everything gets considered well. All right.
I'm just going to say one small thing. For those of you who are continue on with Youth Commission, if there's something you want to do in the beginning of next fiscal year, August, September, if you work on it and you submit it by the May meeting for that time, considering our next meeting would be the orientation in August, that is also something to consider. So remember that timeline. Does that? Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Megan. Also, next week on the 31st, which is Tuesday, is the Youth Commission recruitment deadline for our applications. So if there's anyone that you are encouraging to take up your spot next year, if you're terming out, make sure that they have submitted their application and that you have kind of solicited the fact that there's an open seat by next Tuesday. Also, I'd like to point out some upcoming events that we have planned. On April 18th, there is the District 1 times District 7 and District 8 Siren Immigration Rights Workshop. So if you are interested in attending that, please come support your fellow commissioners. On April 4th is District 4's Yak event, the Transit Way. This one is on public transit, if you can't guess by the name. And then in the future, we will have the Creative Futures Fair, which has been pushed back from its original date, which was this last Saturday, to sometime in May, just so you all know. And then I've been talking to Dali. We might be doing Cinco de Mayo this year, and we might be tabling there. So keep that in mind. That is all for my chair report. Does anyone have any questions about what I've mentioned today? Okay, perfect. We will now move on to the commissioners' reports per district. We'll start with District 1, Commissioner Deschmuck.
As you heard from what Commissioner Kujareski said, the immigration event will be happening on April 18th. So currently we're working on promotion for that event and basically just finalizing logistics. And we're also working with District 4 on the AIM event that will be happening. I'm blanking out on the date, but in May 31st. 31st? Yeah. So also we'd want to support you on that. And along with that, we are working on just finalizing the end of the year, like project proposals and working with the Adopt a Storm Drain event, especially for the Earth Day demonstration, and essentially just spreading awareness for that as well with our environmental group in the commission. So yeah, that's what we're working on right now.
Vice Chair Pradeep Kumar.
Okay, hi everyone. I don't have much for my update, but my YAC and we met, I think once last month, and we're working on reaching out to affinity groups and different cultural performance groups in different high schools around San Jose to come perform or to table at the Culture Fest, which is going to be happening, I think, sometime in May. And I've also been talking to my commissioners about their applications and preparing for next year's YAC, which I'm really excited about.
Commissioner Sanchez.
I have a few things. I was able to have a successful starting of a class for a mural in Hillbrook High School. The mural will be shedding light to youth opportunities around San Jose, such as some that we heard today. Hopefully, in the future, we'll hear more about the children's and youth service programs. And I also talked to the principal of the school, and I will be able to get my YAC to participate in the class when they have time. It won't be only during school, but outside of school. Let's see. I've also been trying to get a new litter pickup program in St. James Park, since we're not really seeing youth pickups there. But we're also going to be attending the Great America Litter Pickup on Saturday, April 18th. Hopefully other commissioners come and participate wherever they can. Also, we'll be working on my district report pretty soon.
All right, District 4.
Okay, a couple interesting stuff, I guess. So I finally got a chance to meet with my council member, and I met with him and his policy team. And we basically went over a bunch of drafts that his team has been working on and I've been working on with my YAC. So we've been working on a bunch of environmental related policies to plant more trees that provide shade around San Jose, especially for the summer months. And I've also presented a policy to bring more immigration resources beyond just red cards, but more like visas and all that immigration document stuff to him. And he said that was a good idea. So me and my yak will be attending their budget meeting very soon. I believe it's April 3rd. So we'll be attending that. And then I also had my first park cleanup at Penitentiary Creek Park with my yak. I think we picked up around 60 yards of weeds, so that was pretty fun. And we plan to go back there and plant some seeds, so we'll be going there again. And then we're having an intersectional identities event this Saturday with Fiona's yak. So if you guys want to encourage your yak members to go to that event this Saturday, please do, because we're still accepting registration. We have a lot of spots open, so definitely do encourage your members to go. It's from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30. And we also have My Yak's VTA event coming up April 11th or April 4th, I think. So that'll be very fun. We're going to tour the San Jose Orange Line VTA system. And yeah, AIM is in progress with Anushka's yak, and that'll be fun. So yeah, peace and love, I guess. Okay.
District 5.
Yeah, not much for me. I was at Eastridge's Little League had a bake sale this past weekend, so I was at that. It was so cute. They did like a bake sale and they were raising money for the league and like for like the costs that come with like participating in football, I mean softball, and then I mean baseball, sorry. And then I was at that. It was pretty fun. And then I've been doing outreach and East Side high schools as well for my yak. And then I'm hosting a get to know your council member with my yak as well with Councilmember Ortiz. Like he wants to take us out to get pizza, so that'd be pretty fun as well. And then as for Cinco, like Marian mentioned, I'm part of the Cinco planning committee, and I'm hoping to have us table. I already requested us a table, like a table booth during our Cinco. It's May 3rd. It's kind of like an all-day thing. There's a parade followed with like the event that happens at Emma Prush Park over by King Road. It's pretty fun. We've done it for a couple years now. I believe 3 years now. This should be the third. This should be the third year we've done it. It's really beautiful. We have like live dancers. We have a bunch of events. So I would like love to know like I'll reach out to you guys later to see who would be interested in tabling. It's usually from like 1 to 5 because then the parade's in the morning from like 9 to 12. And we can do shifts as well. So other than that, that's just it for me.
District 6.
Hey everyone. I had one meeting with my yak this past month where we kept working on a possible project proposals featuring focusing on a community drive and on a workshop focusing on art therapy for children. So those are a work in progress. And yeah, I'll be working on my commissioner report soon. And I've been accepting new yak applications and just continuing to grow that group. Thank you.
District 7.
Hi. So for District 7, we have postponed the Creative Futures Fair. Hopefully, fingers crossed, to May 16th, which is a Saturday at the Vietnamese American Cultural Center. We hope to have this event up and running in collaboration with Culture Fest. And yeah, in addition to that, District 7 is collaborating with District 1 for their immigration rights workshop, as well as District 4 and the other districts for the AIM event. But yeah.
District 8.
Yeah, so District 8 has our meeting actually after this on March 28th. So I should have more after that. But currently, we're just working on our policy resolutions. We have subcommittees that are continuing to develop their ideas. And we had a discussion about the budget a while ago to help with that as well. Our co-chairs are planning District 8's first Youth Summit event, which we're going to schedule around May. And we also completed some budget canvassing for priorities in our district. Similar to the May event, I'm looking into establishing a potential event at Fowler Park for Juneteenth. And I've been also prepping for the Siren Workshop. I've also drafted and been looking into another a change this time within our commission to help streamline volunteer coordination. So that may come up in the future as well. Other than that, nothing new out of D8.
District 9.
Hi everyone. Not much happening for me really. I'm just like working with my yaks on 2 policy proposals for the immigration ad hoc. Um, if anyone on the immigration ad hoc would like to join in, please let me know. And I believe that these policy proposals will likely be carried over next year, but not sure about that. And then we're also in the process of reaching out to like clubs, affinity groups, and like culture related like community centers, things like that, in D9 for Culture Fest. That's all. Yeah. Thank you.
District 10.
So a lot has happened, especially our Youth Connect event. For those of you that don't know, it was an event organized to connect youth to city government and increase overall attention to the city government and what they do. We hosted this at Pioneer High School, where I attend. We partnered with my club there, and they were very helpful. It was very successful. We were expecting around 50 or less, but got double the number. So that was great. And a lot of questions at the end. And my council member Casey, got a lot of questions and he answered them pretty well. So that was good as well. And a big thank you to the District 10 office for cooperating with us. And then we're looking to expand this to Leland High School. I'm talking with my officers and then we'll make a decision and then we'll see if we can contact Councilmember Casey again if he is up for it. And then unfortunately the park cleanup that we had scheduled the day after the budget summit was canceled because my YAC member who was leading this and had all the materials got sick. So we're looking to reschedule that and I'm going to get in contact with the parks organizer. And then I haven't had a YAC meeting yet, but I have one scheduled for this Saturday for this month. And I've talked with my officers and we've been talking about policy. And yeah, thank you.
All right, for my report, I just have a few things. First of all, I've been working on the tree planting lately, our annual tradition. I've been trying to find a group we can collaborate with, and we're still in the process of planning. I have a YAC meeting, which will be scheduled for either later this week or next week on Zoom. And then I've been thinking about what to write on my chair report. I've been thinking quite a bit. All right, that's it for me. Moving on, do we have any items the commission would like to add to the agenda for the future? For our next meeting? No? Okay. Moving on, our next youth commission meeting is on Monday, April 27th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in City Council chambers. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I, Commissioner Park, motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?
I, Commissioner Babu, second the motion.
All those in favor, all those who oppose, and any abstentions, please vote on your screens. All right, this meeting is now adjourned at 8:08 p.m.